Hello guys. It's been a month since the day I received a package with a knife I've never seen before. I'll remind you, we're working on this project together with the central knife shop Reza.ru. The idea of the project is that once a month, the guys are sending me a package with a knife. I have no idea what kind of knife it is. So my aim is to open the package and use this knife for a month. Throughout this month, I'm actively testing this knife, and in the end I'm making a video with a detailed review and my thoughts of it. We're calling it a knife in the black box. And the first knife I received like that was this Frodo from NL Knives. You can see the link for an unpacking video in the corner of your screen. And we're going forward to a detailed review of this knife.
But before we start, don't forget to subscribe to our channel
and hit the bell button
so you don't miss out on our new videos. Your support is very important for us. Did you do it? Okay, now let's go.
So my Frodo came in the following set: the knife itself, a leather case for carrying it on the belt, and a certificate mentioning the date of its creation and the materials used. Actually, this knife doesn't need a case. It's sold separately. It's an alternative way of carrying it, since Frodo has a clip and you can easily carry it in your pocket. But here are some nuances. The clip of the knife doesn't have any indentations on the inside. It's completely straight, and with this kind of construction you can only put it all the way on your pocket if it's made of thin material. But if you're wearing thick jeans, you won't be able to clip it all the way down. I wouldn't say it's a big problem, because if you want, you can always carry it in a stylish leather case on your belt. But if you accidentally have a desire to take the clip off, you wouldn't be able to do it without disassembling it completely, because it's attached from inside one of the liners. And here is a certain point: the NL knives, as the knives of many other high-class manufacturers, are not meant for do-it-yourself disassembly. You can tell by the non-standard pivot screw. And there is some sense to it. The knife is definitely aimed at the premium segment, and is meant for servicing at a professional or with a professional dealership, which is the Reza.ru shop. I completely support this idea with post-purchase servicing, but it's a little unconventional that you can't get access to the insides of the knife on your own. Don't get me wrong, if you want you can disassemble it, of course. You can find a flat screwdriver that would fit the pivot screw, but it's gonna be some Soviet-style kolkhoz, and you don't want to do it with a decent knife. So let's go back to the case. It uses the same belt clip you can find on gun holsters. Quite convenient, but you can't stop thinking about it, since it can slip off without you knowing. And it would be quite unpleasant to lose this Frodo. Frankly speaking, I really like the knife, although it has a number of nuances. Actually, we keep talking about the case for too long. Let's speak about the knife itself. Just like I told you when I was unpacking the knife, it reminds me Buck 110. It's quite massive, classical knife, but in a modern view. It weighs just over 5 ounces. Of course, mostly it's because of the liners, which are 2 millimeters thick. They don't have any cutouts that would make the knife lighter. And they're decorated with diamond-shaped ornament. That's quite impressive. They want to make it perfect, to make it look nice even where you won't notice it. Personally, I really adore such Easter eggs on the knives. It adds some collectible value to the knife. The handle is quite bulky. It'll take a lot of space in your pocket, but in the palm it feels just gorgeous. The grip is simply great. It even feels like a full-bodied fixed blade. The grips are made of a carbon I've seen for the first time, called Unicooper. It's an interesting material. It looks very interesting, with beautiful metallic iridescence in the light. The back space is made from the very same carbon material, but there are also some inserts of black carbon between the metal liners and the grips. But there are more design elements to the handle. The perk of this particular knife is a bolster made of mokume gane, a composite material made out of dissimilar metals of different colors to form a decorative patterns. It's created by Vladimir Gerasimov in the forges of Gerasim Custom Metal, which you must have seen in many of our previous videos. The bolster is embellished by the pivot screw that I've already mentioned. It's made out of N690 steel and hardened to 58 Rockwell units. This system of opening the folding knives has been getting quite popular lately, but it still takes some getting used to it. At first I was a little clumsy opening the knife, but after a few days of training I'm doing fine. And 2 rows of ceramic bearings turn this knife into a full-on fidget spinner. You just want to keep clicking it all the time. By the way, I should mention that it's very easy to close the knife too, thanks to a cutout in one of the grips and the chamfering on the liner that holds the blade open when you're using it. Now to the blade itself. M390 steel, hardened to 63 points, 11 gauge steel, 1/8 of an inch thick and 3.6 inches long. There's some pleasant jimping on the spine. It helps the grip of the finger when opening the blade, and it's not tearing your skin. The marked side of the blade bears the NL Knives marking. The small ricasso displays the type of steel, its hardness, and the manufacturer's logo. Set and finished bevels are flat, and they go down right from the spine. They taper down to a tiny secondary grind, which is sharpened to the angle of 40 degrees and then polished. And that's where I met an unexpected problem. The knife is quite sharp, it can easily shave your hand, but it wasn't cutting aggressively enough to my surprise. The knife wouldn't grip on the product I was cutting, and the cut was blurred a little bit in the beginning. At first we couldn't understand why it was happening. After all, the geometry of the blade is just perfect, what could go wrong? But the devil was in the secondary grind, which was polished into a mirror. In my opinion, we could easily solve this problem by scratching it with any kind of a honing rod. But that would be too unprofessional. Frodo is a knife aiming at the premium segment. I didn't want to grind it, such an accurate bevel, with some sharpening steel. So we decided to give it to our sharpening specialist, who likes to be called Greyhead. I was a little nervous to work with such a valuable knife. I decided to use the Cadet sharpening system from the Profile Tech Studio. We've received this device quite recently, and I was anxious to try it in action. Before fixing this knife and the clamps, I put some paper tape on the blade so that I don't scratch it. It's set in bevels. We knew that the knife was sharpened at 40 degrees of the total angle, but I wanted to fit the existing edge as precisely as I could. So at first I painted it with a marker and clamped it just like they did in the NL Knives workshop when they were actually sharpening it initially. So now I just had to scratch the secondary bevel a little so that it would grip on the material cut more aggressively. I chose a diamond dust bar with a 7/5 side from the Van F factory. It took only 10 minutes of working with the Cadet system, but the most important thing was that we notched the edge without ruining the initial looks of the secondary grind. I should emphasize that the knife was cutting nice even before that, but now it starts to bite into the product more aggressively on the initial stage of the cut. It was my first look at the NLK Workshop's product, and after this month with the Frodo, I didn't immediately fall in love with this knife. It was happening gradually. First you just like the looks of it, and then, as time goes on, you warm up to it. And after a week, I just didn't want to let it go. Would Frodo be your ideal EDC knife? I don't think so. It's like an expensive accessory that you want to take with you to some business meeting, to a restaurant, to a friendly gathering, and so on. But if you just want to go outside to a store, for example, I just take something more familiar and casual. Frodo is like an expensive, well-tailored suit. It's like a nice watch for going into public, like a convertible car. You wouldn't go out every day without a roof, but at some point you just push the button, the roof goes down into the trunk, and everybody is just staring at you. So Frodo is just like that. That's just how it feels. But I wouldn't dare to call it a shelf knife. No, that's quite a working knife. It's not afraid of dirty work, and it works really well. Cutting fish, cooking, planing wood, in fact everything else that can be done with any other folding knife. Is it the right thing to buy as your first pocket knife? I think not. One needs to grow to this one. It can really be appreciated by the more sophisticated knife lovers. This is the kind of knife to gradually appreciate. It takes some time to understand and realize it. That's probably the reason why NL knives became so popular with the collectors, including those from Europe and America. and now they're actively conquering the hearts of the Russian connoisseurs of good knives. To wrap up today's video, I'd like to mention that the knife we review today is just one of the options of the Frodo they can make. All of them are unique, and each of them is special in its own way. Essentially, every knife is a separate project with various combinations of materials, and 90% of manufacturing is manual labor, which adds to their collectible value. You can take a look at all the variations of the Frodo knife and other models of NL knives on the Reza.ru website. They are the exclusive distributor of the NL knives in Russia. I'll put a link in the description. Well, on this I'm saying goodbye to you, but not for long, since very soon I'll open the black box again and we'll find out what will be my next knife of the month. Until then, and see you online.